Om Shanti, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. We're reading from chapter 6, the Yoga of Meditation, and we've reached this beautiful group of verses, 20 to 23. We have already discussed 20, so in this talk we will discuss 21 and 22. So let us read them. 21. When he, the yogi, feels that infinite bliss which can be grasped by the pure intellect and which transcends the senses and established wherein, he never moves from the reality. 22. Which having obtained, he thinks there is no other gain superior to it, wherein established, he is not moved even by heavy sorrow. So this is the description of what is yoga. Here in this context, the yoga of meditation. What does it really mean to be in a state of meditation? And this is what is brought to us here. So when the yogi, the meditator, feels that infinite bliss which can be grasped by the pure intellect. So pure intellect in the context of Raja Yoga is the intellect which have been purified by the practice of yamas and niyamas, the observations and the prohibitions. Those of you who are familiar with the Ashtanga Yoga from the Raja Yoga Sutras of Patanjali Maharishi, the basis for all the practices is the practice of yamas and niyamas, the moral character, the cultivating of moral character, without which meditation is considered impossible. So here it is mentioned that pure intellect, which is purified through the practice of yamas and niyamas, the prohibitions of and observations, and of course the practice of meditation itself, which is considered tapas, purificatory. So this is the intellect which transcends the senses. So here there is this contrast between the joys of the senses, which in another place in the Bhagavad Gita are described as the wombs of pain, and the infinite bliss that comes from the pure intellect, meaning that joy that comes from a source that is not the contact of the senses with the sense objects, comes from a place which is changeless, which is established in the true reality. So this is the joy that is described here. And the yogi, the meditator, after having reached it, and this is a long and difficult practice, we will see further on in the chapter how the difficulties and the practices needed are described again. But when it is reached and the yogi is established, he never moves from this reality. Why? Because after having, it is said, after even having a little glimpse, a yogi who was able to reach samadhi, not as a fleeting microsecond experience, but as an experience, will never be the same again. Even though after reaching the samadhi, he will fall down again and then will reach, and there are ups and downs. But the yogi before the samadhi and after the samadhi, not the same. Why? Because we already have this vision of true reality. So we are getting more and more established until he never moves from this reality. And again, once the real bliss is sensed, so having obtained, he thinks there is no other gain superior to it. Now this is not intellectual thinking, this is a realization. So analogy which we mentioned before, the broken glass versus the real diamond. So before we grab the real diamond, we run after pieces of broken glass. But then when we have the diamond, what is the use of broken glass? Another analogy is digging wells in a place where there is a flood. So if there is so much water, they are so available to us, why do we need to dig wells? We no longer dig wells. We know that we will always have access to the true source of water. And like this, there are many, many analogies, like, when children, they play with Monopoly money. And they're very excited about the Monopoly money, but then, they grow up and they understand that Monopoly money is painted paper that cannot help them buy too much outside the Monopoly reality. Then they get this insight about the real value of the Monopoly money, sorry. So it is like this with us. Once we realize what true bliss is, what it really means to be peaceful, what it really means to be blissful, this experience, we stop looking for the joys of the senses, which can only give us fleeting pleasure. And again, the Bhagavad Gita says this fleeting pleasure is actually the womb of pain. So this yogi, who is established in the true reality, he thinks, meaning he realized that there is no other gain superior to that attainment of yoga. Wherein established, he is not moved even by heavy sorrow. And to this we will dedicate a separate talk, as it's a very, very, very beautiful point to understand, and we'll give a little bit of demonstration from the life of Swami Shivananda. So please join us for the next talk. Om Shanti.